are going to be running over stats, and this is kind of our internal powwow. So every other Tuesday that we do this, we have a guest come on, but this is more internal. Frankie's going to pull up stats, go over markets. As we've talked about in the past, it's a huge part of the business is understanding your market and getting familiar with data. It's not something that everybody's into, but it's so important. And understanding market analysis is huge for our business and being of value to clients, and it's an important tool. So yeah, Frankie, you're spearheading this, so take it away, and we're excited to jump into some markets and just talk shop.
Yeah, most definitely. You guys, everybody's different, right? But you don't always have to be the super analytical type of person, but some clients are. So it's good to be able to provide that. But also, you just got to be able to know at least the surface general knowledge of what you're doing, whether you're selling or leasing in a specific market. You're going to want to at least know rough numbers per submarket, per market, per general MSA, things like that. It's good to know off the top of your head. So we can
MSA.
start with
For somebody who might not know, what is an MSA?
just like a larger area. I think it stands for market statistical area. Basically,
So you're talking about
Las Vegas would be an MSA or. Yep.
You gonna start with Vegas?
Well, I was gonna say we normally just pop right into CoStar and either look at our markets or whoever's in the chat, which is still fine. But also wanted to share we had a meeting with LVGA and we had some data from them provided to us just on operating costs for new people coming into Vegas. So it'll be a good
that's interesting.
little thing to look at. Yeah. So let me share my screen as soon as I'm allowed.
Well, and I'll give Frankie a little back. I'll give you guys a little backstory on this while Frankie's pulling that up. So we have a company that's looking to do a new type of mode of transportation in Las Vegas, and so when we took them to LVGEA, that's the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. I'm sure that a lot of the larger MSAs have entities that are similar to LVGEA, but they're probably called something different. But their purpose is to help bring business and industry to our state. That's their sole purpose. They help them find incentives. They help them work with the government entities. They'll fast track their permitting, all kinds of different things. So it's like we have so many resources out there to use. Don't be afraid to just pick up the phone and start calling your zoning department, your planning department, your city manager, all the way up to the top. They can be of huge resource for you. And if not, they can typically point you in the right direction. And so one of the benefits of us having this meeting is that our particular client is deciding between two MSAs, either Dallas or Nevada, or excuse me, Texas or Nevada. And so, of course, LVGEA wanted to do the best job they could to convince them that, of course, it's Nevada. So they actually gave them comparison side by side of this is what it would cost you to employ this many manufacturers in Texas versus this many in Nevada, and like the whole analytical shebang. And it was just, the resource is invaluable. So
that's a great one.
Yeah, don't ever be afraid to leverage your resources, right? Like there's so much information around you and we can't know and do it all. So it's just so important to reach out to your don't ever be afraid to pick up the phone and call somebody. They typically love talking to you.
Yeah, that's true. And plus, I mean, a lot of times companies will go to the economic development groups first. They're not reaching out to a broker. Hey, we're considering your market, what you got, what sites are available. Then EDC is like, hey, Pam, Frankie, do you have any sites? We have a company that's considering, that's a really, really good tool. That's a good point, Pam.
Very true.
Yeah, most definitely. Sorry, Pam, I was saying I need you to share. Let me share my
screen.
I
apologize. Share screen. Multiple participants. There you go. She's all yours.
Sweet. Thank you. Let me pull it up. Alrighty. Share my screen. Let's go with Google Chrome. All right. So we'll start with this operating cost sheet from LVGEA. Can you guys see everything all right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right, so it's actually my first time really giving it a good look too. So obviously it's from LVGA regional comparison with Dallas. It compares to one of the other largest and hottest MSAs right now. Population were 2.3 compared to their 7.9. Establishment-based employment 1.1 million to 4.3. Labor force 1.2 to 4.5. Unemployment rate, you get the 6.1 to 4.2. Annual average wage in the private sector, 60,000 to 76,000. Average annual wage for manufacturing, 63 to 89. Per capita personal income, 58 to 66. Economic development, workers' comp cost per 100,000 in the payroll, so $1 to the 88. See the payroll tax, unemployment insurance, corporate tax, individual income tax. As you know, we don't charge any of those. Sales tax, state minimum is 6.8, 6.2. Property tax, ours is cut in half, 60.59 to 1.68. Average office markets, asking rents 240 to 260, industrial $1.19 to 57. That's so crazy to see because I just passed my 5th year of like fully being licensed. And when I first started in industrial, like fully really knowing what was going on, this was the rents we were at. Like 3 to 4 years ago, we were sitting in the 60, 75 range, and now we're already up to an average of $1.20. It's insane.
Crazy.
Commercial electrical rates per kilowatt. Yeah. 96/100th of a cent, 93rd.
I want to interject there, Frankie. So,
yeah,
somebody might be looking at us thinking, why do they have electric rates on here? Why is that a valuable metric? Well, when you're talking about occupying, 200, 300, 500,000 square feet of industrial space for, a high-tech logistics center distribution facility, the amount of power that's required is absolutely atrocious. And that's a big cost that needs to be factored in. And, that's just a very important metric that a lot of people might not think about when they're trying to consider a market.
Yeah, most definitely, especially with things now changing in the different types of users. I mean, we have so many heavy, like energy heavy users or things like that. So you're 100% spot on. It's something that may have not always been needed to be like a huge factor, but now it's most definitely a factor, especially for the bigger products and for the energy specific clientele. Absolutely. Especially if you're going to share a space, right? You got to know how much it's going to cost, how much you're using versus your other tenants or owners, whatever the situation may be. So definitely something to consider. Electrical rates per kilowatt, 84 and 72. NA it has for natural gas, industrial, natural gas. Cost of living index, 95 to 102. GDP, gross domestic product per employee, 130,000 to 129.5. Pretty spot on. We're beating in there. That's pretty good. Housing opportunity index, 18.5 to 28.5. And down here in the notes, it'll give you, it looks like it's a definition of everything. Let's see. Population, the Bureau of Economic Analysis uses the Census Bureau's mid-year July for population estimates. Okay, so some in not only definitions, but also just giving you context and what they're meaning with all this different stuff. So let's see what it says for the kilowatts. Oh yeah, it just says average commercial price of electricity by select utility providers. Cool. So yeah, this is a pretty cool resource. I mean, it's comparing directly to Vegas to Texas, right? So of course that was one of our target markets. So it's perfect for them to literally sitting there with the Economic Alliance of Vegas, and they're giving them this resource to compare side by side. So if anybody has any questions on that, feel free to jump in.
And Frankie, too, on top of that, so whatever market you're in, anybody that's watching this right now, you can go to your local EDC. It might be named a different thing. It's LGA for Pam and Frankie. It's EDC, Economic Development Committee for me. It can change, but these groups, you go to them and you ask them for information like this, and a lot of times you don't necessarily always have to be the one that compiles the data. You're just there to know who to ask, and that's where you start to become more valuable as a broker, as an advisor, is just even knowing who to go to for what, right? And that's a big part of this business, is you don't necessarily have to be an expert in every single aspect of these things, but you need to know where to go to get the info. And like Frankie and Pam done here, this is a great resource for their client that they did not have to compile themselves.
Right.
You know
It's so spot on. I mean, you can't be the master of everything. And if you try to be, it won't work. And they'll smell it from a mile away. You can't do a million things at once. Nobody can be the expert at a million things, but you got to be the expert of getting stuff done. Knowing who to contact, knowing who to put them in touch with, knowing who to get the answers from, leveraging your resources. And this is, I mean, we were like the hero just by connecting them with this resource, which every agent in town has the capability to go to them to. They're, very accommodating with agents. So yeah, like Jabin said, just leverage your resources and know who to go for what. If you need contractors, you're not a contractor, but you got to be able to plug them with some different contractors. Same thing with lenders, same thing with inspectors, same thing with title and escrow, attorneys, like across the board. So
I want to add to that because I'm in business planning mode, right? So like at the end of the year, I don't know how many of you actually have business plans, but we live and die by them, right? Because if you don't have a roadmap to success, what are you actually doing to get there? And if you're new in the industry, or if you're new to commercial real estate, or you want to learn industrial as a specifically more about industrial, I would say your business plan should include meeting with one vendor in the industry per week. Take one vendor to coffee. If it's a general contractor, if it's somebody from planning and zoning, where in whatever municipality you're located in, like if you commit to building your team and building your sphere, you all of a sudden get so much smarter about everything about everything that you're doing, right? Because it is leveraging your resources. So just because I'm in business planning mode, I'm just throwing that out there. Like if you're just building your network, commit to that, a coffee or a lunch a week with some vendor or industry leader in the area that you're attempting to grow in.
Yeah, most definitely. And a little tip for anybody who's like a newer agent, because it should be across the board, even for older agents, because people change jobs and vendors change and whatnot. So it's a good idea for all levels, but especially for the younger ones, be very smart and methodical with who you pick out and headhunt for these lunches. For lenders, make sure they pay because they're supposed to, and they always have that, that's part of their program. But, make sure you're connecting with somebody who's on similar to or a greater level of experience, because ultimately, not only do you want to provide a good resource, you want to be able to get referrals and give referrals, right? So you don't want to get necessarily the top dog, 30-year experience, never going to call you back, trying to get that guy. Of course, he would be great, but he's not sending you any referrals, and you'd be lucky to get his time. But if you were to get somebody, third, fourth year, similar to you, on a team with a great title and escrow officer, that's just who I would target, and somebody to get more on my level. So we're similar stages and have the similar amount of contacts, so we can actually create a good relationship that we give each other referrals that result in money in our pockets.
ROI.
ROI, baby. And they have to happen. So you might as well make them fun and fruitful. Sorry, do we have a question?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up on that. What, in terms of prioritizing, I think it seems it's definitely something I need to do more of in terms of doing that with vendors, as opposed to I think recently I focused a lot on just agent referrals and like community business events. But in terms of targeting vendors, who would you prioritize? Like what types of vendors? I think partly it seems like figuring out who's worth building those relationships with. There's, there's going to be dozens of vendors in any category. But any thoughts on, if I have not done a lot of building those vendor relationships, where you would start?
Yeah, definitely. I have like a two-part answer because, obviously you need someone for everything.
Yeah.
You got to be able to put them for across the board. But if you were going to prioritize it, to finish the first part, you want to be able to, at some point along a long time, eventually structure good relationships for all of them. But if you're going to prioritize them, I mean, you always want to have a good lender. You got to have a good inspector, contractor, some sort of, whether he's a handyman, TIs, somebody who can just get stuff done quickly for your clients during escrow and things like that. So definitely a lender, contractor, any bankers are always good. Anybody that can do multiple things for you is always good, like different types of loans, different types of constructions. So yeah, whatever specific to your market, if you guys use attorneys or escrow officers.
And I would only add to that, I think first and foremost, attach yourself to a really good marketing rep at a title company. Marketing reps can be gold. Like if you're having a hard time trying to figure out information on a piece of property, call your marketing rep. If you want to get lists of NODs, call your marketing rep and just get on that list, because that's what they do. Their job 100%. Is to make you more successful so that you're doing more business and giving them more escrows. It's really a win-win situation. We love marketing reps, and they all have different strengths and different weaknesses. So, again, like Frankie said, get to know that person, make sure you guys are on the same page, but they can send you lists until the cows come home. We have one marketing rep that sends us a list of who's doing business, which is really phenomenal, and the reason why that's important and that's interesting is because if I see somebody in my market killing it in office, and I've got an investor who wants to purchase only off-market office, I know who I'm calling. He's got the product because he's dominating the office market right now. It's just, figuring out how to use the information is obviously most important to turning it into successful transactions and dollars. But Frankie, I thought every single one of your answers were spot on. I would just add that. Attach yourself to a really good marketing rep. They can also help you figure things out in the deal. Like, you get something sold and you get it into escrow and you do not understand this preliminary title report. Get them on the phone. They're great. They're great for not only marketing, but helping identify properties. And they're on the streets. So they talk to so many agents. And they have a wealth of information. They're like the MLS of commercial real estate.
Got all the tea too.
Yeah, they have so much information. So you could pick their brain like crazy. So I would just add that.
Yeah, most definitely. And you want to know the players and who's in the market. And also I want to mention, because a lot of commercial agents, especially newer agents, they just don't know, especially coming from residential, our marketing reps and escrow officers, they're much more than that. They go above and beyond, even especially during a transaction. They're actually our transaction coordinator. So that's why residential agents don't really know that, because you have a dedicated transaction coordinator that you pay each transaction. But in commercial, some agents pay for a transaction coordinator, but if you breed that relationship, they'll still do it to a degree. But if you really breed that relationship, you can have like a spot on transaction coordinator. You're getting your timeline, you're getting everything you need. Like they're really there to be of service. So yeah, thanks for adding that.
That's great. Thank you all.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I got my Villa title notebook. I met with John. I don't know. Are they still an ancillary partner with us? Villa?
I believe so.
I don't know. I'm sure. I haven't heard anything other
I haven't heard
than that,
from him in a while, but
yeah, I haven't heard anything either. So
yeah, who knows?
All right. Well, we can jump right into stats. Does anybody have an area they want to start with?
I want to look at Charlotte.
No, just kidding. Let's do it. You can go into CoStar, and I also, just for sake of knowledge and showing you guys to like completely like what we would look at, because obviously we have CoStar and we'll go through that, but I also got the Avis and Young and I think the JLL market reports for industrial Q3 2023, just to show you different sources, and sometimes they use different criteria. Really, it's the realtor one that uses 2 million or under, but just to give you guys a different perspective, that's the word I was trying to land on. Give you a different perspective from different brokerages. And then I also got the Collier's Vegas specific industrial market report for, I think it was Q2, but just to give you guys more different perspectives. So we'll start with Charlotte on CoStar for Jabin. He's been begging. All right, Charlotte.
Gotta be quicker than that.
North or south?
Well, North Carolina. Yeah, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. What do you think? You want to do your submarkets?
Let's do just, yeah, there you go. Do the whole market.
Just the whole market, industrial market?
Yeah.
You want to compare them, or you just want to go right into this one?
Let's go right into that one.
Okay. So for Charlotte, North Carolina, the industrial market, you can see you got 369 million square foot of inventory, which is up 10 million from a year ago, 3% change. 6.7 million in construction. It's down 20% year over year, which of course you got to take everything with a grain of salt, especially with commercial. Things take a lot longer. So when you're really looking at market stats and you're trying to get a feel, you want to look at things on like a 2-3 year timeline. Because this, just looking at that, you'd think that Charlotte is going down in construction and things aren't, looking up. In reality, it's just where you're at in the mass production of industrial products. So 8 million square foot of absorption, which is down just 1 million. Vacancy rates up 0.5% or just a little over 0.5%. Market rent's gone up $1. Sales price has gone up $7 a square foot, just over $100 a square foot, hitting the triple digits. Charlotte, and you're at a 7% market cap. Pretty fair, solid market, it seems. And then again, it has the CoStar populated summary for you to read and get a better understanding, also to provide clients with if necessary. Do we want to read this? I don't really want to read it. You can read it.
No, I'm
okay.
Good.
We can if we want. And then
it's just good. That's a good exercise.
Yeah, and then it gives you comparison to the national index, which you can take that with what you want to take it as. If it's good to show the client, then I think you show it.
Right.
Same thing with inventory, and then the sales, amount of transactions, average sales price, 12-month volume, 1.4 billion in a 12-month sales volume. So it's pretty solid.
Frankie, to that point, I want to hit on that. You said to show your client. That's the thing. And that's why it's good though when you start working with anybody listening to this. When you start working with users that are looking in multiple states, it's really fun because then you can start comparing markets. If in the beginning, especially, you're going to do a lot of deals locally. Okay, we get it.
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. It's how you're going to pay your bills. But then everything is limited, and you're trying to always convince them that this is the market that they need to be in because of this reason. Versus, as you grow in your career, you're going to start working with people that are identifying sites in multiple states, and you're going to be able to kind of become more of an advisor, right? And start really taking on that advisorship role versus just trying to get them to do something in the place where you're doing business. So, and that's the beautiful part about eXp. We can do deals in multiple states. I just wanted to throw that out there.
I'm going to piggyback that by saying also, it's a great tool if you've got a client that has to open in multiple states, right? You've helped them, they get contracts in a state, logistic contracts in a state. Now they have to open a warehouse in that state. Well, you've gone along 4 or 5 states now and they've gotten used to a certain price point. You get into another state and it's like significantly higher. It's an incredible tool to teach them, no, I'm not making this up and these landlords aren't crazy. This is actually the cost of doing business in this area. Yeah. It's like, it's a comp analysis, right? Mm-hmm. Does the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. And then, and also remember that it has historical information. Of course, everything they've kept, they keep. So you could go back, and look at averages, and you can even do a little projection. I think they'll go all the way up to a 10-year projection. You can do 10-year averages on vacancy, absorption, and all of these different indicators. Leasing, and then, specific news to that area. Planet Fitness to open new suburban Charlotte location. Insurance giant orders Iowa, North Carolina workers to back to office at least 3 days a week. Get to work, Charlotte. Railcar company to move to headquarters from Chicago to Charlotte. Ooh, that might be interesting.
Charlotte.
Let's check that out. Yeah. Is there any other questions on Charlotte? You got months to market, months to lease. These are great for listings and showing your client, here's the standard amount of time it'll sit on CoStar for before we get it fully leased, time from on the market to vetting clients, negotiating, and signing a lease.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay.
What does the construction tab do?
It goes into we just scrolled through. It just goes to where we were at on the page.
Perfect. It's a shortcut to that part on the page.
Exactly.
So
all the
important,
graphs,
guys.
all the charts. What's that?
I said so important. That's so important to know this, at least in your market.
Yeah, you gotta know your market, whether it's CoStar, Crexy, or the title company, or whatever your source may be. You gotta study your market. You gotta educate yourself on what's going on and what's happened, so you can properly advise your clients.
And being in, I was going to make a note on that. So piggybacking off of what you were saying about the EDC, I'll share a super quick story that's really been amazing for me locally in my market. When I first got started, I might have shared this before, but I started taking out the mayor of this little town I grew up in. And again, you might be in a major city and the mayor's not going to be the guy that you take out. The point is I took out somebody in the city that knew what was going on. And I'll take them out for coffee every month, just like Pam was talking about. And I'm talking years, like just every month or so, a couple months, go get a coffee. Hey, real estate, here to help you. What's your vision? Tell me where you want to see the town going, all this stuff. And then you start asking me questions. Long story short, over time, they started calling, when they started having people interested in doing business there, when they started hearing about big companies moving in, and they started bringing us in to these meetings to help advise them. And hey, should we approve this? Should we not? Should we turn this development project down? What do you think the highest and best use is? Here's our master plan. But and what happened over time is we became a resource to them, and they started calling us when they heard something going on, which in return got us in front of deals and clients and businesses and opportunities before everyone else knew about them, which is a huge, huge part of this business in the off-market space. Pam and Frankie know that. They do off-market deals all the time. I do a ton of off-market. So understanding your market data, what's going on, that's a component of it. Also understanding what's going on in your market through your contacts, through all the stuff Frankie and Pam talking about, is so vital to kind of setting yourself apart and kind of knowing stuff that not everybody else knows. And it's going to make you a lot more valuable as a broker.
Oh my gosh. I hope you guys are taking notes, because that doesn't just apply to industrial. That's just great for real estate across the board. I mean, it's all relationships, right? You'll hear it all day long, 10 times a day, a million times, different people. It's all about relationships. 80%, if not more, of commercial deals are all done off market. So the small amount you see on the market are just for show. Half the time they're already sold, and it's just to get extra leads from listings that are already sold.
Wow.
All about creating relationships and doing deals off market. So thank you for sharing that, Jamin. It really hit the nail on the head just across the board for starting your business, keeping your business going, all of it. You got to meet people and take them out like real people who are going to transact. You got to just go meet them. I love it. Any questions before we move on? We can either go to a different market, or I can pop over to one of the other.
I just have a question for Jabin. So now seeing this, how does this compare to what you're actually experiencing in the market? Or did you draw any conclusions from it? Because I think that's where the gold is, right?
100%.
Numbers are what the numbers are. However, how does it compare to your experience in the market?
100%. I think it's a little bit of a lag. Obviously, data is always going to lag a little bit. Charlotte in general, cap rates, that's definitely spot on. Market rents, at least the areas that I'm doing deals in, That seems a little bit low compared to what the deals I'm doing, but also this is factoring the entire industrial market across the board. Okay, so you guys, that's the thing. You're looking at this data. It's like, okay, well, great. That's the cap rate. That's the sales price per square foot. But are we talking about 10,000, 100,000, a million?
Right.
There's a big range there. Definitely it's finally at a point now where I'm not going to tour an industrial space with a user and it's like, hey, we have 3 LOIs and we're gonna make a decision tomorrow. Good luck. It's a little more like, hey, I'm kind of checking a couple spaces out. I'm not really in a rush. I'm gonna do my due diligence, figure out what makes the most sense. I don't feel pressured. And to me, Pam, I kind of am enjoying that a little more. Like, I got a tenant. You want, like, let's do a deal versus, hey, I got the listing, get in line. I don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a little more, depending on what side you're on. I think I do a lot of off market acquisitions and I've done a lot of leases. I do a lot of listings, but it's like I've enjoyed the more uh, balanced market, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And forgive me for using the word, but however, I feel like we're just in a more normal market, right?
Yes.
So if
100%.
you've been only transacting industrial real estate for the last couple years, that was not normal.
No, not at all.
We experienced one of the biggest growths in industrial real estate I've ever seen in my 36-year career, right? So now it's a more balanced market. It's a more normal market. It feels like you can actually get in and do more negotiation. So I agree with you 100%. I love it.
And then for new brokers, right? It's like it's kind of I'm just telling you, it's better to, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are working with tenants and running around with local retail investors and stuff too. And it's a much better for you to be in a situation where the value exchange is the listing broker wants to get the deal done with you as much as you want to get the deal done with them. And the buyer or the sellers might be a little bit more uncomfortable than they were 2 years ago, and the property might have been sitting a little bit longer than it was a couple of years ago. That's what you want, if you're on the other side. I'm just telling you. So it's a good thing.
And just an example, like a true experience that we had when industrial was in demand to the degree that it was in Las Vegas. If you had an auto user, forget about it. You were dead in the water. They wouldn't take, like, it was just nope. No. Why? Well, because they're dirty, they're hard on the space. You have to deal with hazardous waste. And there was so much demand for industrial space in the leasing sector that it was just a hard no, because they had other LOIs lined up that, businesses that wouldn't be so difficult on the space. Well, guess what? We're actually seeing auto space come available again. We're seeing landlords consider auto space. Mm-hmm. So that's just one little example of a little shift in our market anyway. So we agree.
That's a good indicator. That is a good indicator. When they start permitting the automotive uses again, we're getting back to a little bit of a balance. Yeah.
Correct. Hey, we had a request. It went away off of my screen, so I can't see it right now. Somebody out there requested an area they wanted.
Baton Rouge and Fulton.
There you go.
Oh, sweet. And then, just to touch on that, when you said it in the very beginning, Jabin, it's CoStar, right? It's very an general oversimplification of the market. It's not going to be as up to date as we would all like. It's not live time, right? So when I say take it with a grain of salt, like take it with understanding that this is reliant upon human to human researchers, double checking, rechecking sales, public information. Typically takes 30 days to post for public record of sales. Leasing, that's the most highly coveted information because it's just calling and figuring it out. So a lot of people like to hate on it, but at least it's something, right? It's a foundation to start with. It's at least on the board of the dartboard. Like you're throwing the dart, it's on the board. It's not a bullseye right on where you need it, but you're close, right? It's better to have it than to just not.
That's a good analogy.
All right, let's check out Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge.
Just for sake of time, guys, we've got 20 minutes. So let's get through these two markets and then we'll open it for questions.
Good idea.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
2.6. Was that a 2.6 vacancy rate? Wow.
Woo!
Dang.
Let's see.
All right.
So you only have 2 different submarkets. So that's interesting. We can just do the whole thing then. I just wanted to see how many different submarkets there were. Wowza, that takes it into a lot larger area. See how crazy that is with like that's just CoStar's understanding of the Baton Rouge commercial market and then the submarkets. So I think it's safe to say a vast amount of the commercial happens within right in this area. 930 and 800, 758, and a total of 3.1 billion. Yeah, that's insane.
That's where the action is.
A little bit.
Oh, and we could see why, right?
More
Like
than half. Yeah.
if you're looking at that map, it's pretty
go back
obvious.
to that map. That's a good thing to point out, Pam.
What's that?
The map.
Well, when you're looking at that map, it's pretty obvious as to why industrial is exploding in those 2 submarkets right there. Does anybody have an idea why? So here's what I'm going to go out on a limb and say.
They know, they just don't want to say.
I know, right? Everybody's being so quiet. You know, during COVID, we had this huge problem with shipment in the ports, right? I mean, how many miles of ships did we have backed up on the California ports? Miles and miles and miles. Well, logistic companies decided they don't want to be dependent on the LA ports anymore. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start transporting things through the river routes and other ways, right? And so what it has had a huge, profound impact on this in particular area. If you want to understand more about this topic, I would recommend following Casey Conway. He's the Red Shoe Economist, and you can find him on LinkedIn. You can find him almost anywhere. I follow him on LinkedIn, and that's where I get most of my information. I don't think he's a big YouTuber. However, he talks about logistics. And so if you understand where manufacturers are going to start, how they're going to start moving their product, then you can understand what markets are going to be hot. So just an indicator of why there is only a 2.6% vacancy rate on this right now. And that might even not even be factual, because who knows how much of that is in the process of getting absorbed. Anyway, just a quick little tidbit there.
This is beautiful in terms of what you mentioned, Casey Conway. This is Minaj. Hi, guys. Yes, we've even taken Casey Conway's videos and presentations on that and created a logistics report talking about it and how intermodal transport systems are being used across to bring portions into this area. Casey Conway's built this whole triangle that he puts across in terms of how most of the consumption of products is within that triangle and how people bring the stuff in over there. It was very impressive. And yes, I can definitely share that logistics thing put together by our team.
Please.
To anyone interested too.
That's amazing. Thank you for adding that.
Yeah, for sure. Throw it in the chat. I'm sure everybody would love to take a look.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
So these are the things that make you stand out as a broker, guys, right? Like literally getting in and understanding your market. These are the nuances that you need to like educate yourself on and really understand fundamentally how they affect your market or any market that makes you stand out from the other broker. So add education into your business plan as well.
Most definitely.
Market trends.
Most definitely. And, you know, a little out of left field here, but me and Pam were talking about it the other day, and, you know, it actually does hold quite a bit of weight, especially in this market, even with the massive price reductions from CoStar. It holds a little bit of weight when you call a broker, maybe you're a newer agent in the market, you call a broker saying, hey, Mr. Big Time, Big Shot Broker, I'm looking at your listing on CoStar and just wanted to get some information. Just from them knowing that you pay for CoStar and you're in there looking up information, it's at least enough for them to, one, you get their cell phone more often than not because it's on CoStar and not anywhere else. And for two, they see that you're actually paying for it in the market. You just get a little bit more respect and credibility versus if you were just like, hey, I saw your sign, tell me everything about your listing. Doesn't really get you much. So just throwing that out there. All right. Did you have any specific questions you want to look at in Baton Rouge, my man? Whoever requested it, or did you just want to get the full run through? Cool. 42.5 million of inventory, which is up 4%. 2.2 million is under constructions, up 37%. And again, I would always construction, I always want to look at that on a 2 to 3 year basis, just because you'll see it goes up and down, up and down. You always want to average it. 1.5 million of net absorption, 2.6 vacancy rate, which is actually up, which is interesting. But like Pam said, it's probably just a matter of it being reported, and it's probably that open space is probably already leased and absorbed. So that's just on you to get, more current information in your specific market. Rents have gone down a little bit. Market sales price have gone up. Cap rates are up to 9.3. Existing buildings, inventory. Your average building is 20,000 square feet. 2 million under construction.
2 million under construction.
38 transactions in the 12 months. At 70, 19.3 million in sales. Yeah, it's relatively a modest industrial market in terms of volume. But it's interesting. It's all, I love it, right? It's just all stats and knowledge and information. I nerd out on it a little bit just because I can already picture of if we had a deal in Baton Rouge, what I'm saying to pitch the area and what's going on. And so it's good. You want to, not only do you need to have access to it, but you want to be able to articulate this information to your client. They're a stats guy and they want to see charts, print this out, show them the charts, but also have an idea of what you're showing them. But when you send it, as you can see here, you can compare a specialized logistics flex with the Baton Rouge in the United States and a national index. You can see the current availability rate, blah, blah, blah. Any other questions?
Nope. Now we got Fulton County, Georgia.
Yeah. Wow.
Computer says no. It's just Atlanta. Unless there's a submarket of Fulton. North Fulton. Fulton District. Is that what you were looking for?
I'm gonna say that's a big one. The whole.
Let's go with, in this case, let's go with South Fulton. Fulton County is extreme, it's very large. Did they show a breakdown for, so let's go with North Fulton.
North Fulton? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Got a $5.8 billion asset market, excuse me. You got 34 million of inventory, 34 million square feet, which is up 1.5% from last year. Construction's down. You got 122 square feet of net absorption in the last 12 months, which is down significantly. Vacancy rates up to 4%, but still very low. $13 per square foot on the asking rent, which is pretty solid. This is continuing to go up at 8% from last year. $168 per square foot for the sales price, and a 6.6 cap going up from 6.1. It's pretty solid. As we all know, Atlanta is definitely one of the hotter markets, stronger markets, good returns, good bang for your buck on your money. So definitely a strong market, good place to invest. Vacancy rate in comparison. Oh, so you have submarket to market here. So this is obviously the overall Atlanta market in comparison to the North Fulton. So North Fulton is a lot higher per square foot, lower vacancy. Availability rate's gone down.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you have any questions specifically you wanted to look at or to know?
Can you share what's going on with the construction piece of it? Because I know they're building up quite a bit. I just wanted to know if the construction has slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So here's construction. While speculative construction in North Fulton remains elevated, construction costs have begun to slow. While there is still some more supply on the way, 370,000 under construction pales into comparison to supply. Pipelines and logistics heavy in South Atlanta submarkets like Airport, South Clayton, Henry County. New projects generally quick to lease in the submarket. One of two buildings delivered in late 2022 at the Forsyth Commerce Center have already been leased. However, another building in the park, 200,000 square feet, building 100, remains available. 3 buildings ranging from 125 to 150,000 delivered at Shiloh Tech Center, opened in quarter 2 2020, and were fully leased by tenants such as Home Depot shortly after opening. Smaller niche industrial products should continue to pop up in the North Fulton area. Deliveries of large-scale distribution centers are unlikely in this submarket. Largest project underway is 117,000 square feet, multi-tenant building on Commerce. Various factors, including congestion on the 400, restrictive zoning, limited access to rail lines, like Pam was talking about earlier, make big box construction unlikely here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. And again, if you guys, CoStar is only $450 a month. We have a team subscription on ours, but we're happy to provide you guys with a market report here and there if you wanted one just for your knowledge or something like that. Don't come to us for comps every single time you have a listing, but we're happy to show you guys provide some.
Once you open that can of worms,
some reports,
I know, right?
Game over.
Well, if I can request a copy of that market report, that would be great. And if I need to just touch bases with you offline, I can do that as well.
Yeah, I can give you the sub-market report right here, and
I'll pull
no
one
worries.
for Rachel.
$500. Just kidding.
You have one time for Rachel?
Do you take pennies?
April, will you do us a favor and work chat Frankie your best email address, and we'll get that off.
Okay.
Yeah, I could even just throw it in the work chat too.
Yeah, and it's actually just April .Purnell at eXp Commercial.
Yeah, if you just want to shoot me your work chat, I'll throw it in there, make it easy.
Okay.
But here it is, voila. That's what it looks like for anybody who doesn't know. Same exact thing you saw on there. It still gives you the verbiage, so you could even read this and memorize it. Treat it like a book report.
Perfect.
And then also, if you don't have CoStar, I don't think these will help you, but these are actually links. So like you could click on that and it'll take you to this building, so you can actually see what it's comping.
Okay.
I think in 2 weeks when we do stats again, well, we'll use Reonomy, right? Because Reonomy is a tool that everybody has through eXp Commercial. Whether you're using it or you're not, there are so many benefits to it.
Reonomy is really just for contact information.
Right.
I wouldn't use it for comps.
No, not for comps at all. But I think what we'll do is a demonstration on Reonomy of how it can fit into a business plan. Would anybody be interested in that?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. We want to give the people what they want.
Yeah,
well, I hope I wasn't speaking for the crowd, but I'm interested in it.
I'm gonna ask real quick too. I'm kind of helping. I know a couple people. I know we're running out of time. I was pulling Rachel. I was gonna send you the Tampa one. I was gonna email you that one, or Frankie if you want to. And I know that Maria, if y'all want to maybe message us. We can pull a couple. Frankie, I'm happy to do some of them too.
Yeah,
Right.
maybe I have kind of a general question that I know we only have a couple minutes, but so if we don't have time, we can chat at the next one. But part of what I have a couple of clients who are looking to get out of some residential investments and shift to commercial for a couple of reasons. And their question has been, why should I go? Which segment should I focus on? Is industrial a good fit for me? I'm kind of interested in that. Should I what market data tells me which segment I should invest in? And they're looking for guidance to be told because they don't really care. They're just looking to make a shift. So I think maybe even just generally, are there certain metrics you would focus on to help facilitate that conversation about which segment for clients that are not segment specific already?
That's really good.
As much as you can, I'd flip it back on them to try to see what is going to get them to be interested. Like, is it the cap rate? Is it the NOI? Is it the IRR? Is it what is it that you're looking for? Down payment, cost of construction, whatever the case may be. And as much as you can, of course, I know what you mean by the good old fashioned, I don't care, give me the best deal ever. In my experience, more than often than not, those guys aren't as serious as they claim to be, but I'm sure your guys is real deal. So, I mean, of course, everybody wants a good deal, less hassle. In my brain, I would go towards something like a surefire, like a triple net 10-year lease, solid tenant, lower return, but it's because of the surety of the income in the tenant. That's where I would start and just try to get feedback. But my answer would just be to always try to keep getting it back from them, because every investor is going to be different, and every area in investment could be great for this investor and terrible for another investor. So
you need to understand their goals, like Frankie said.
There you go. Yeah.
What's your goal? What's your risk profile? Right? Greater risk, greater reward, low risk, low reward. Do you want to be hands-on? Do you like going in there and saying hey to a tenant every once in a while because you're just a local investor and you want to go say hey to the electrical contractor in your little warehouse building? Or do you want to sell 1031, you want to check, you want to go to the beach, and you don't ever want to mess with it, you want management in place, you want it to be completely passive? Do you have like Frankie said, do you have a target IRR? Do you have a target yield that you got to achieve? What are your other options? If you were to sell your real estate and invested in stocks, bonds, CDs, what are you getting there? What's the risk profile of that versus real estate? To Frankie's point, to Pam's point, I think you can start with what's your goals? What are your goals and what type of risk profile do you have as an investor? And then Jabe and Frankie and Pam can help you start looking at different assets and different types of deals within certain asset classes to help you understand what type of investments may make sense.
Every property is a good investment for somebody. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it that way, across the board, every single property could be a potential investment. So if you're starting with that, it's a pretty tough thing to narrow it down.
Yeah, that's all helpful. And I like the idea of even giving them some other, either an example or helping them think about how other investment classes to give them something to give feedback on.
Hey, that's a great,
especially with people who are in residential. It's I don't know. There's a sense of I don't care. I just don't want to be a landlord.
right.
I forget that you still probably are a landlord, depending on what kind of.
Well, I would get them one of those they advertise, zero landlord responsibilities all over it. Yeah, that's a great point. I would get them maybe even one or just one of each asset class and just show them, here's one example. This is what it would look like. What do you think? You're owning a Del Taco for 20 years. It's 4 options to extend, no landlord responsibilities. On this one, you have mobile home park, blah, blah, blah. So that could be a good option too.
And a lot of tax incentives. We can talk about that later, but there are a lot of tax incentives to owning commercial real estate that a lot of these retail investors may not be aware of, and their true yield is actually not what they typically think it'll be once you dig a little deeper. So there's a lot.
And they're residential, but they're still investments, so they'll still be able to 1031 into commercials just the same. So there's nothing stopping them. So that's awesome that you have somebody like that. It's fun.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, and that's 8 o'clock. Any last questions before we close her out?
we had a lot of, we just got the chat blown up with markets. I think maybe y'all could go on Workplace and like ask for Pam, what do you think? What's the best way? Either Workplace in
I like
our
Workplace
group
chat.
or message it in
Yeah,
chat.
because it's like a cloud. So like if we send documents through there, it won't take up anybody's email space or anything like that. So yeah, if anybody, if you guys just want to message me your, just like you did on here on Workplace chat, me and Jabin will shoot you the CoStar reports. We can just divvy them up, Jabin.
Sounds good.
Well, I just want to thank you guys because you guys have been a plethora of information. And I think it was a great session. And I'm really thankful for everybody that joins every week and participates. And I just want to remind you guys, do not forget about the fourth quarter investor forum. I put a little asset in the chat, and you can also find it on Workplace. It's going to be on Zoom, so you can join us. And that is, oh my goodness, I was wrong. It's actually November 7th. I originally said November 17th, and I know why I did that. That's my grandpa's birthday. Wrong date. It's actually going to be on November 7th. So look for it on Workplace and please join us. It's about a half-day forum, a ton of great information. And so hopefully we'll see you there. And now, oh, one more thing. Next week, we go to, not next week, but our next session in 2 weeks, we're going to have bringing in another speaker. And we are going to be talking all about the fun topic of remediation.
Woo!
Love it.
Listen, warehouses get dirty sometimes, right? You got hazardous waste. You've got, you know, who knows what's going on inside this warehouse. So it's really, that would be another great vendor to connect with, a remediation expert.
Yes.
We need
TI,
him.
a TI contractor. You need a really good TI contractor in your hip pocket, right? Like we lean on ours like crazy. And there's a huge difference between commercial TIs and residential TIs. But anyway, so join us in 2 weeks because we're going to be talking all about remediation. And then 2 weeks after that, I think we go in like a deep dive of Reonomy and some eXp commercial tools and how to best use them in your industrial real estate career.
Love it.
Cool.
All right, guys. So with that, I bid you guys a great day, and I will be closing out the Zoom. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.